great to be here with Steve Williams, possibly one of the most successful caddies of the modern era. You've been on the bag and with players that have amassed over 150 wins, which is a phenomenal record. You've been caddy to some of the great players in the world, Adam Scott, Greg Norman, Ray Floyd, and of course Tiger Woods. But you're a Paraparaumu Beach Golf Club boy, which we're incredibly proud of, and you grew up just down the road in Pukeroa Bay. And I guess that's really where I want to kick things off today. Steve, just to take it back to the beginning and let's discuss those early years.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate to get involved in the game of golf through my father, John, who was a member at Paraparaumu Beach, and he played regularly every Saturday, Sunday. He was a Duncan Cup player, and he played in an era at Paraparaumu Beach where there was a very good core group of players. Steve Barron, Steve Creighton, Charles Lacey, Jack Lacey, Tony Proctor, Martin Webber. There was a very good core of players, and they were all good players. And I quickly got sort of engrossed in the game, watching all these good players. As a caddy, I started off caddying as a junior there, and they had a good caddy program at the golf course. So every weekend I was caddying up there, but also getting to watch some pretty good players, and that's how my love for the game and caddying came about. I mean, most people grow up and want to be a player, which at some point I entertained that thought, but I just had a fascination with caddying right from the get-go. It was sort of a core group of members that I used to caddy for there. Eric Fraser, Colin Wilson, Alan James, of course. Actually, even one of the female members, Elsa Hodson, used to caddy for her. Dick Warren. That was my sort of core group of players that I would caddy for on the weekends, and it sort of started out at 50 cents a round and went to $1 to $2. These guys started bidding and it went to $5 to $10, and it was getting up to $20 a round. And this caddying was, not only was it fun, but I guess I just had the knack for it. I guess the guys used to love me caddying for them because I could actually, at a very early age, get a grasp on how far they hit the ball generally and what club it was from certain spots around the golf course. And they thought that by having me caddy for them, it sort of helped them score a bit better. So I really loved the fact that caddying and was you actually helping somebody improve what they loved doing. I just found that fascinating. Why, I don't know, but always did.
Who controlled the caddy program in those days? Was it just a matter of turning up and hocking your services in front of the golf shop, or did the professional run it?
I'm just trying to think of the very first pro that was there.
Alf Jenkins, or
no, the next one.
Was it Ralph Jenkins?
No, the pro that was after him.
Okay.
I can picture as sort of a short fella, dark hair, slight built. It was between Ralph Jenkins and Jim Morgan. There was one guy that was, when I first started, he was in Jeff Donald.
Okay, the Duck.
So every Saturday, Sunday morning, we would report to the pro shop at 7 to 7:30, and he'd have a list, and that's how it kind of worked. Yeah, it was a very good program, and I think we've touched base before about maybe that's something that, I think golf clubs should sort of get back into it. I think that would really help grow the game in the junior ranks and get people into the game. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about.
It's quite interesting because I've spoken to a number of very good golfers in the series that all started the game, or largely started the game, one jumping the fence and just starting to play, I guess, illegally, and the second one was like caddying. Guys like Mike Clayton who jumped the fence and got into caddy because he wanted to earn some money and grew his love of the game that way.
Yeah, well, look, when I was caddying at Paraparaumu Beach, you couldn't play till after, I can't remember the exact time, but as a junior on the weekends, we couldn't play until after such a time. I'm not sure it was 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, unless you were playing with members. You could play, if you were a junior, and play with 3 of the members. So but as a group of juniors, you wanted to play together, there was a certain time. So that's why it was great. You go out and caddy in the morning, and then go and play in the afternoon after whatever time it was. I mean, it wasn't uncommon to caddy 36 holes in the summertime there, and then head out onto the golf course at 6 o'clock at night and get an easy 18 in yourself. So I spent my whole entire youth at the golf course, either A, caddying, or B, looking for golf balls. I mean, I've searched that golf course high and low for golf balls, and that's how we used to make our pocket money. Yeah.
It's quite interesting. We've got a suggestions book, and it looks like it dates back well into the 70s. But there's an entry there in 1977 from a young Steve Williams suggesting that the club should treat their juniors a little bit better. And there was a reference to Judgeford down the road.
Yeah, well, the conditions were very strict at Paraparaumu Beach as far as when juniors could play. And in comparison to some of the other golf courses that were letting their juniors play more frequently and on a better basis, like, of course, in the wintertime, you couldn't play after school because it was almost dark, and your golf was limited. So if you were a junior, and Paraparaumu Beach had a very good bunch of juniors, and they're all keen, and at some point, some of them went to Waikanae, some went to Otaki. Myself, I went to Judgeford for a little bit, just with the fact that you could play more. I mean, I think we all remained members at the club, but we went elsewhere to be able to play more regularly. When you sort of got a bit better, you didn't want to have to wait till, I believe it was like 3:30, 4 o'clock to play. And, like myself and a lot of the boys there, we weren't actually from Paraparaumu, and we took bus and train to get there and that sort of thing. And so if you go somewhere else and get more golfing in the day than what you could there for a little while, but they did change. They did, I don't know what year it was, but things did change for the better.
Now, you touched on Alan James there earlier. That was a friend of your father, I guess, and a good golfer at the time. And you caddied for Alan, and you also worked for him for a period there as well.
Yeah. Well, Alan was a butcher on McLean Street there, and an avid golfer. And I caddied for Alan a lot. He had seemed to have a lot of cash in his back pocket a lot of the time, and I caddied for Alan a lot, and worked in his butcher shop after school. As a youngster growing up, I was always intrigued in making money, and that came from caddying. And then, but I used to work in the butcher shop. Anything I could do to make some money. I've always been intrigued in trying to make some money as a kid. And of course, at the time, I didn't realise that the money that I was making was going to actually afford me to go overseas and caddy, because obviously my parents weren't going to let me go overseas at the age that I did. But I had the funds myself, so I didn't have to get it off my parents. So that was very fortunate.
So at some stage, there was a lot of golf happening at Paraparaumu during those years, and at some stage you were introduced to Peter Thompson.
Yeah, so through the Caltex tournaments, which is a tournament that Paraparaumu used to have, one of the top tournaments in New Zealand, and as all the older members would know, that you see some of the names that played in that tournament, not only Peter Thompson, Kel Nagle, but Guy Wolstenholme, Morris Bembridge from the UK was a very good player, and he had a great love of the course at Paraparaumu Beach and played there a number of times as well. And it was interesting when I first started caddying and got introduced to Morris Bembridge and told him where I was from. That, and it was interesting just to hear. He was one of the first people I spoke to away from New Zealand that reinforced my thinking of what a great course Paraparaumu Beach was. And Morris Bembridge is a Ryder Cup player and so forth. But what was the question again, Leo?
Well, but Morris shot 62. He still holds the course record, along with a number of others. We were quite fortunate. We hosted Morris back at our course in the last couple of years, and he's got a fantastic record there. But yeah. He was one of those players that came out, and obviously Peter Thompson was as well, like you touched on it, and you got a chance to get on the bag with Peter Thompson.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's how it all started. And look, it's a very true story. It sounds, what made you decide, or if someone asked me what made you decide to be a golf caddy, and it happened in one particular week. It was 1976. The New Zealand Open was held at Royal Hiratonga, and my father had met Peter Thompson through the Caltex tournament, and he arranged for me to caddy for Peter at that Open at Hiratonga. So I caddied for Peter. I was 13 years old, and he was amazed that someone of that age had the ability to calculate with it. We didn't have a yardage book, or I didn't carry a yardage book, didn't know what a yardage book was, but had the ability to calculate from certain distances what club that he should hit. And he was quite amazed with that. And it was just a great experience, playing golf at Paraparaumu Beach. You'd heard so much about the likes of Peter Thompson, Bob Charles, Cal Nagle, Billy Duncan, and these guys, and to actually go to a golf tournament and caddy for one of these guys and be up against and play with some of these guys, it was just amazing. And Peter played very well that week. He finished third in the tournament. At the end of the week, it was the last tournament of the calendar year, and he gave me $150. Now, at that particular time, I think I was getting between $2 and $5 a round at Paraparaumu Beach caddying. And not only that, he gave me all his practice balls, and they were Bellata B51s. Yeah. No, actually, a combination of B51s done up 65s, I think they were. And, that's like giving you 50 golden eggs. When we kids going through the drains on 10 and 11 and the hazards on 13 and 16 and down the left of 7 at Paraparaumu Beach. And, when we used to come across one of these balls, one of these Bellata golf balls, it was like a golden egg. And he all of a sudden gave me 50 of these golden eggs. Yeah. And he gave me his golf bag. And, it was just as a 13-year-old kid, all of a sudden be given $150, 50 of these golf balls and his own golf bag was just, it was incredible. And right from that moment, I knew nothing about caddying as far as a profession, but right that moment, that is what I decided to do. And it was the next year that I was caddying for Peter again. Through that association of that event, I got to caddy for Peter again at the Air New Zealand Shell tournament up at Titirangi. So that was my first experience of being away from home. I got billeted by a member of the golf course at Titirangi, which I could walk to from their house to the golf course. So that was no problem. Took the bus up from home up to Auckland, got met by those people, and they billeted me for a week caddy for Peter at Titirangi. And through that tournament, he played with Graham Marsh, another regular visitor to our shores, and at the time, one of the players who had success not only in Australia and in Asia, but actually in America, played a bit American. He had an American caddy, a guy by the name of Nick DePaul. Some people might be familiar with Nick, caddied a long time for Severiano Ballesteros, amongst other players. One of the best caddies that there ever was. And I talked to Nick about how do you become a professional caddy, and he was so helpful. He explained to me what you do, how you go about it, what it involves, what it entails, and that was the next year, 1977, and that's not only did I know that you could caddy for a living, now I had someone tell me what it entailed, and that was my dream. I just caddied more at the golf course and looked for more golf balls and did everything I can, knowing that I was going to have to save up my own money, because when I told my parents that's what I was going to do, they were always telling me, well, that's going to come after you go to university. And I'm thinking, well, there ain't no chance. I'm heading out of here. It's the day I turned 15, which I did. In hindsight, that's it'd be a foolish thing. I wouldn't let my son go out the door at 15 and head over to Europe like I did, but I had my mind set on it. And it was one of the funniest things, Peter Thompson realised that I had a bit of a knack for caddying, and he knew that I loved it, and he could sense that that's, a couple of years later, he knew that's what I wanted to do. And he just said, son, I'll give you one bit of advice. Caddying's great, but please complete your education. Yeah, right. So many, many years later, when the President's Cup in 2013 was played at Muirfield Village in Ohio. It was the first time that my son met Peter Thompson at the hotel there one night. and Peter said he said, I told your dad these words in 1978, I think he said, and he told my son the exact same words, word for word. It was just priceless. Yeah.